Mr. Reardon, how are you doing?
Doing well.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me what you're showing off here at RSA?
Yeah, so what we're going to demonstrate is our new compliance blade.
Yep.
It's a management blade, and so it rides along with our Smart Center MDM management domains. And the idea here is to filter, if you will, all the security controls provided by our blades through a compliance filter, right? So a compliance view. So fundamentally, we start off with a pretty native overview pane, as with all of our blades, to give you a quick snapshot into the health of your compliance posture and really how good your security is. Fundamentally, and under my organization, this first wick is really the entire scope of what we scanned, right? So it's the entire network, all the security checks against all your gateways, against all the blades that we decided to scan against. The other, then it's broken down. The data then is just really 3 separate views plus messaging. So it's the gateway view, the blade view, and then really importantly, a snapshot of your compliance view. And this is all configurable as far as what protocols you want to measure against.
Yeah, so can you drill in on like PCI just
Absolutely.
As an example?
So what we're saying here is that for the initial scan, we scanned 65 different PCI DSS requirements. So we filtered against those requirements. And hey, good morning. So if we let's take a render pan unreadable. So what the idea here is to make it easy for the administrators to understand the mapping between their security controls and the regulations. And we maintain the currency of the regulations associated with our tool set. But this one here is very specific to PCI DSS 2.0 3.4, right? And these are all the relevant security checks. So the security check is really a checkpoint rationalized control objective, right? So it's a best practice library security check. And out of the box, we have several hundred of them, and we're adding more each day. The relevance of this is that we take a security check, right? Check that all used IPS profiles have IPS mode default. You're talking about protecting PAN.
Right.
And then what objects we scan that against. In other words, the objects are the gateways themselves, security check, and then the regulation, right? So the regulation is mapped in this particular instance because it's really a high-level, multifaceted control from PCI. So we have to apply a lot of security checks against multiple security functions, i.e. blades, data loss prevention, all of our IPS, data loss firewall, etc., in order to generate a status of this control within our environment. And the aggregate is that we have very strong protections in place that satisfy this control.
Yeah, so basically a checkpoint administrator can ensure that their configuration of all of their checkpoint products are in compliance with all of these different regulations, right?
Yes, not only that,
we're going to have a meeting, guys. I'll get payment info later.
What we're talking about here is a library of best practice security checks, i.e. security controls, that when you think about it, we're really pre-packaging a best practice compliance policy, right?
Yeah.
That if you've got my blade, my antivirus blade, you can take these settings and ensure that all of these configuration parameters are implemented into the IPS policy, right? As well as the external, the out-of-the-box recommended policies.
Right.
If we ensure that, if we ensure that these policies, the profiles include those security parameters, we know that 1, you've got really good security in place, and 2, you'll be compliant to whatever ails you, PCI, ISO, NIST, whatever it may be, GLBA, and the others. So back to the compliance plan. The idea of security checks is really at the center of what we do. Think of how we approach data loss prevention, the predetermination of data types, right, with some flexibility. It's really very similar. It's the predetermination of a rationalized security control that we do all the mapping to all the various regulatory environments requirements.
That's awesome. So if anybody wants to come to the booth, they can come talk to you or Dutch or anybody else here and find out more about this, right?
Absolutely correct.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for your time, Chuck.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks, Tim.